The chapter I'm going to be discussing today is Chapter 3, Confronting Others' Violations, the case of the manipulated photo. So basically, like a quick summary of it is David Calvert, which is a photographer. He works at an event and he sees another freelance photographer like take a photo and like manipulate the photo and basically try to like deceive the public and make a picture look a certain way even though it's not a certain way. And obviously that's against a code of ethics. So David goes through an ethical dilemma of how he wants to handle the situation and how he should proceed. So we learn about like basically moral development in theory. Um, what do you do when you encounter unethical behavior by others? Like what responsibility do you have to confront them, or like what duty do you have to do the right thing for society or others? So Calvert notices this photographer manipulating the photo, and he records him actually, and he doesn't post it or anything, but he's recording them, and then he sees the post the next day, and eventually he's like thinking to himself, should I say something about it? Like, what should I do? And then he sees that like an editor page noticed that the photo was manipulated, and they basically kind of like call out the photographer, and the freelance photographer, like finds out, and then he just says, "Oh, it was an honest mistake. I didn't mean to do that." But Calvert sees the photographer again, like I think the next day, manipulating another photo. So you got to think like, all right, you said it was a mistake, but you're doing it again. And basically, he goes through Ralph Potter's Jr.'s The Potter Box, which is a theory that it's like guidelines that focus on four dimensions on unethical reasoning: facts, values, principles, and loyalties. So you go through this Potter's box to help you with the solve your dilemma. So with facts, what do you know about the situation? Like what's true, and anything that it's not really biased. Like it's just you're just looking at straight facts. And then the next thing you go through is values. You identify what values you hold important. So for David, the values he hold important is the code of ethics for photographers, which is like truth, accuracy, and like respect and dignity. And next is principles. You look at your values through the lens of different system of ethics. So your the values that you hold individually, you look at that through the different like ethical theories, like the Aristotle's mean, Kant, J.S. Mills. So for an example would be like Aristotle finding a middle ground. So he could be extreme and like post a video, or he could do nothing. So trying to find like a middle ground in between that. And last would be the loyalties. Like, is he loyal to like that photographer and not say anything, or is he loyal to his profession and like the craft of being a photographer, and that this is not really honest or something that you should do as a photographer, and you know better than that. And basically the aftermath is the freelancers eventually all his archive photos are removed from the website or the editor's page, because the editor found out that, like I said before, he found out that it wasn't true. And even though he replied, David eventually like told a friend, and the friend ended up getting to the editor and found out that it wasn't a mistake. Like he's done this before, and a lot of photos he has published are actually manipulated also. And basically, like towards the end of the chapter, it asks you like personally, what would you do if you were in a situation, and like it had examples about like a radio show. Like what would you do if you saw some of your coworkers, you just joined a new show, you saw your coworkers doing very unethical stuff. Like how would you respond, and what would you do? And takeaway I got is I really like the Potter's box, and going through the list of um, guidelines like facts, values, principles, and loyalties. I like going through that because like when you're in a situation, you could think, okay, let me calm down and let me think like what are the facts, what happened, okay, boom, this is what happened. Next, what values do I hold? Like what's important to me, and then the next principles, like the principle of what they did wrong or what they did, like how does it coincide with what I believe in or think, and then like am I loyal to them, or am I loyal to like what am I loyal to? that helps clarify my thinking. And I really like that because it all just gives you a different way of thinking through situations, and try not to react so emotionally, because you could be wrong. If you could be wrong on what you thought was right, but if you went through like either Potter's box or Aristotle's mean or the different type of ethical dilemmas to help solve the situation, you would make a right decision. And that's what I got from the chapter.